Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the movie Fall that is on Netflix. It came out a couple years ago, but now it is on Netflix. And I have a few opinions on this movie, so let's get right on into it. Okay, so here we're talking about the movie Fall, where we don't ever really see a fall except for the beginning, which is not really the entire premise of the movie. So, okay, so pretty much we start off the movie with three characters. We have two friends, and one of the friends is married. They're climbing the side of this mountain. So the two friends' names is Becky and Hunter. Becky's husband is Dan, and they are climbing this side of the rock. And a tragedy happens where Dan falls off the side of the cliff to his death because of stupidness. Like, he's trying to put like his, I don't know what you call that in rock climbing, but like the hook inside of a bird's nest for some reason. Like, it's a hole and it has birds in it. I don't know why you would do that once you saw that. But anyways, I digress. He falls off of the cliff. So we fast forward a whole year after this, and Becky, she's still grief stricken over his death. She has Dan's ashes. She's drinking a lot. She's taking pills. I think she's attempting to, end herself. And then I believe the next day her friend Hunter comes by, but not before we see her have an interaction with her father. And her father is pretty much telling her like, hey, like, you got to get past this. And he pretty much says to her like, oh, like, Dan wasn't a good guy anyways. And I'm just like, first of all, how can we tell? We don't get any backstory to that. But I just feel like this was a setup for something that happens later on in the movie. And to me, it still kind of sucks because your dad is just saying like, oh yeah, your husband who just passed away was not a great person. And even if they weren't a great person in, along the avenue that we find out later on, it's still like kind of inappropriate to be talking about it. Like, the man is dead. But anyway, so her friend Hunter comes by the next day, and her friend has been kind of absent, since Dan's death. And she tries to convince Becky to go with her to climb up this extremely unsafe tower. I think it's a radio tower. This tower is going to be about to be demolished, closed down because it's extremely old. I think it's supposed to be one of the highest towers in America or whatever. And so eventually she convinces Becky to go with her. Which I'm so sorry, you would not have convinced me. But I guess because she used to climb before, and, Hunter come in like, oh, get back to your old self. I have a qualm with Hunter. Hunter, to me, is a terrible friend. Because how on earth, your friend lost her husband. She doesn't want to do this because she lost. Like, can we try to encourage her in a different way? She clearly does not want to do this. I don't feel like we need to push her to do something extremely dangerous, which is kind of the way her husband died. Not kind of, it's the way her husband died in the first place, right? And then, like, this is how you want her to overcome her fear. But anyway, they go. They eventually go to this tower. And let me tell you, it is a little fear-inducing if you're afraid of heights, right? I feel like watching this movie, if you are afraid of heights, I will say that I think they did a good job in showing them climbing the tower or climbing this thing, because to me, it was definitely like, oh my God, took me out a little bit. But yeah, so they're climbing this tower, and, they're showing, like, again, this is kind of why it's fear-inducing. They're showing like the ladder kind of ricketing. They show like some of the nails or whatever coming out or falling to the ground. Eventually they get to the top of the tower. Hunter is terrible. She like kind of shakes the tower at some point, and that's kind of when one of the screws come on loose. They don't notice. And I'm like, first of all, you are already like trying to convince her to do this really like dangerous thing after she lost her husband this way. Oh, I forgot to mention, Hunter is like this influencer. So she keeps on posting stuff. There's a point where like Becky's like, don't put me on. And she puts her on the video anyways. So that's just another reason why she's just a terrible friend. Also, I want to go back to the dad thing because I thought it was funny. It's like I said, we kind of get no payoff as to why he even thought that her husband wasn't like a good person or whatever. And I just find it interesting because I'm not saying this was intentional, but like her husband's a black dude. And it's just like, so to kind of do that, and then we really have no good reason why he even thought that in the first place. Like, because he didn't know, unless we can assume that he didn't know what we find out later on. So it's just like, so why wasn't he a good person? Aside from the fact that maybe because he's black, because like why? Like I thought it was an interesting, maybe they put something in the movie and took it out. I don't know, but to me, not a good move. So anyways, they get to the top of this tower and Hunter is like convincing Becky to like hang off the edge of the freaking tower to like while she holds her hand and she takes a photo or a video for her freaking influencer stuff. And I'm like, okay, so what if you did lose grip and she fell to her death? It's just like we're living on the edge for no reason. Like aside from the fact that, spoiler, I'll say it now, like you probably feel guilty because you were the one that participated in having your friend's husband cheat on her. Yes. So Hunter and Becky's husband, Dan, were having an affair behind Becky's back. And apparently it lasted for 4 months. It seems before they even got married. There's a video and the way she finds out is because Dan had a specific way of saying I love you. He couldn't say I love you out loud. So he used to just use like taps with numbers and they were like certain 3 different numbers and Hunter had the tattoo. And I believe like, when she was in the video of their marriage, she kind of looked at Hunter. Hunter looked a little upset and, they find out and she asked Hunter and she's like, oh my God, right? And I'm like, listen, man, y'all are on the top of a tower. This is like the most terrible place for this to even be found out. But anyways, Becky kind of takes it in stride because we have, more pressing matters like getting off of the tower. So by this point, I believe they're up there for like 2 days or something like that. I don't know. There is a point in the movie where they want to get a drone, right? And this whole drone thing just really annoys me because they should have, there's a multitude of ways they try to get down. Not a multitude, but like they first try to put Hunter's phone in her Converse shoe with her push-up bra to pat it, and they send a message to her followers and they drop it down. And because they have no service on top of a radio tower for some odd reason, obviously the message never goes through. But I'm also thinking to myself, like, I feel like people who see this would probably think that this is like a hoax or like some type of a hack on her page or something like that, unless maybe there was some type of further proof that like this was actually happening. Like, I feel like maybe they could have tried to send a short video along with a message of her saying it. I don't know. But anyways, it doesn't go through. Then at some point they realize the bag is sitting on like the satellite that's like down below them because they had a bag and it dropped when the ladder collapsed. Did I say the ladder collapsed? Well, the ladder collapsed and that's why they're stuck on top of the tower. And the bag is stuck on the satellite and they have their water. They have the drone in the bag or whatever. And so Hunter pretty much Hunter and Becky, I don't know. They have the idea that, okay, let's go and try to get the bag. Hunter more specifically. And Becky's like, you can't do that. That's dangerous. Anyways, Hunter decides to scale down to the satellite. She does some gymnastic maneuvers to get on top of the satellite. and she gets to the bag. Now, there's a rope that she used to get down, and the rope is hanging. So her idea is that she has to have the bag, and then she has to jump towards the rope to climb back up. And what was super infuriating about this scene is that Hunter is there stretching for the rope, and I'm looking, and Becky is sitting right next to the rope. And instead of just moving the rope like a couple inches over, she just has Hunter stretching over and trying to like jump to grab this rope. Anyways, she jumps, she grabs the rope, and she starts to climb back up, scale back up. And Becky is trying to pull her up. However, Hunter falls, right? And at this point, Becky is extremely nervous to look because she doesn't want to see if Hunter died while falling. Eventually, she does look over, and Hunter is still alive, and she pulls Hunter up to safety on top of the tower with her. They take out the drone, and Hunter is starting to advise Becky on how to use the drone. And now this is where I'm again annoyed because instead of, you know, maybe like attaching the phone to the drone and, you know, flying it downwards to, you know, send the message and then bringing it back up. No, instead, what they do is they use mascara to write a note on a piece of paper and attach it to the drone and try to fly it out. This is not successful the first time because the drone, it doesn't have enough power. And so what Becky has to do now is she has to climb on top of the radio tower to the light bulb that flashes, and she tries to power it up that way with the advice of Hunter, who, when they were at the diner, she charged Becky's phone using a light bulb, I believe. And let's keep in mind, I didn't mention this, but Becky has an injury to her leg, which would probably have slowed her down. But, you know, she kind of scales this portion pretty darn easily. Anyway, eventually she hangs on there for a good minute, charging this drone to full power. And then finally, she charges it. Oh, and there's a point where I said, okay, maybe something did happen to Hunter because Becky had the bag up there with her. And at some point, the bag drops, and instead of Hunter trying to reach for it, she just watches the bag fall right on past her. And in my head, I'm like, okay, that's not part of Hunter's character. That's a little bit weird. So I'm like thinking, okay, maybe something did happen to Hunter because I feel like they made a point of like having Becky be really scared to look over the thing. And like even what Hunter said after, it's okay. I fell on top of the bag or whatever she said. It was like, I don't know. Like looking back on it after that scene, I was like, maybe something happened to Hunter, but you know, wasn't too sure. Anyways, the drone gets to full charge, full power. Becky comes down and she says to Hunter, why didn't you catch the bag? I forget what Hunter's response was. Anyways, they try again with the note, and the drone actually gets out into the road, and then it gets smacked by the truck. And the driver comes out to look. He doesn't see anything. You can't tell me you didn't see the drone on the darn ground. But anyways, apparently he doesn't see it, gets back at the truck, drives off. And she sees this because she's using her binoculars. And it is unsuccessful. Later on in the night, we have Becky is, you know, she's sleeping. Eventually, Becky realizes that Hunter is not alive because she has an idea to use her phone now to try to send a message. And, you know, she's like, Hunter, let's use your other shoe because, you know, she can't use her shoes because she threw down her shoes earlier on in the movie to get attention of some jerks who actually, you know, when they saw they used a flare to get attention of these two guys, and They saw the flare, and instead of coming to save them, they stole their car, which is like you could have just stole the car and then called the cops. But anyways, that didn't happen. That was earlier on in the movie. So that's why Becky doesn't have her shoes. So she's like, let's use Hunter's shoes. Let's use your other shoe, Hunter. And Hunter is like, I can't do that because guess what? I'm still down there. I'm dead. You've been hallucinating this entire time to cope. And so Becky, she decides to scale down to the satellite to get Hunter's shoe. But before that, dead Hunter tells Becky that, she needs to get something to eat. She needs nourishment. And so, while Becky is sleeping, she's about to wake up, or pretend that she's sleeping. One of the vultures comes and tries to, attack her wound that she has on her leg. And she grabs the vulture and she kills it and she starts eating it. And I'm just like, that is going to do way more damage than good. Because not only is it raw meat, but vultures eat dead meat. Like, what are we doing? That's not going to help you. Like, girl, you're scaling down anyways. Like, this is so unnecessary. Anyway, she does that and she scales down. Apparently, the vulture meat gave her a new burst of energy because she doesn't feel this catastrophic injury to her leg at all. And, she scales down and she takes off Hunter's shoe. She puts the phone inside the shoe and she stuffs the shoe into Hunter's wound that caused Hunter to bleed out. And then she shoves Hunter's, and she sends a message, obviously. And then she shoves Hunter's body off of the edge. And then in the next scene, pretty much we see her father driving over to the tower and he arrives and he sees all the cops. And you think we're going to see Becky get rescued off of this tower? No, she's already down. And she goes and hugs her father. She's sitting at the back of the ambulance, and he's like, let's get you home. Mind you, she has a whole injury on her leg. We're not going to take her to the ambulance, but let's get her home. We don't see her rescued. We don't even see Hunter fall. Like, the fall, right? The fall, we don't see. We don't see Hunter fall. Because when Hunter falls, they don't show us. They show us Becky being scared of the results of Hunter's fall. So yeah, that's pretty much the movie. And guess what? We never get confirmed why the father thought that, his daughter's husband wasn't a great person. And at the end, like, they have some quote about fear. And I remember my boyfriend and I was watching this and we were like, what? What is this quote? Like, why are we trying to be inspirational? This movie wasn't inspirational at all. This didn't, like, it's like something about, go, don't let life, something about not life passing you by, like something generally about that or whatever. Like, it's just like, this whole movie was dangerous. Nothing really positive came about in this movie. So like, you just have PTSD from from two traumatic experiences now, and they're making a fall 2, which I am excited for, by the way. But yeah, guys, that was Fall. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about this movie. If you watched this movie, give me your opinions. Did you enjoy it? I did not enjoy it. I thought it could have been so much better, though. I'm gonna give this movie like maybe a 4.5 out of 10. See you guys in the next one. Bye.